Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, we have the new Tier 9 Premium American ship, the Kearsarge, import to review for you guys today. Actually, she is classified as a battleship. The Kearsarge. This ship's available completely for free via Cole. That's how I got mine. And boy, this ship, we played her on stream quite a lot last night, and I'll talk about that experience in the review portion of the video. But boy, like, okay, art department, like, the ship looks good as, I was going to say aesthetically, but like in form of her in-game representation, her model looks very clean, very nice, lots of very nice details, especially on a ship that's half battleship, half aircraft carrier. And, like, don't get me wrong, there's something very unique about the design. Like, this ship would look perfect in a, grand strategy RTS game as, like, the final naval unit you can research, like the top tier naval unit in some RTS game. They combined an aircraft carrier and a battleship and put it together. But, I mean, like, she kind of ugly. Like I said not too long ago that the Americans, the American Navy, especially around this time period, made some very pretty ships. But this thing, I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it in terms of her looks. But anyway, yes, she is a hybrid battleship / carrier, and we'll talk about how that affects her gameplay and such here tonight. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at her stats and such. No commander has been applied, nor are there any modules equipped. I have removed all of that after playing her on stream last night. So let's go ahead and take a look at her. Her armor. So, 32mm bow, 38mm upper belt, 330mm main belt, and her lower belt is also 330. Her lower torpedo protection is 254, and her bulges are 32. Stern's 32, stern deck's 32, main deck is 38, flight deck is 38, hangar side is 19mm, and bow deck is 32. Turrets have a 406mm face, 254mm side, 190mm top, and 254mm rear. Conning tower is 381, and her citadel is below the water line. Alright. Now, I actually never got citadeled in this ship when I was playing her last night. I got blapped, but it wasn't via citadels. It was through just sheer pins. Alright, now her aircraft, she gets Bearcats. Their normal cruising speed is 176 knots. Maximum speed is 216 knots. The engine boost time is only 5 seconds and reloads in 10 seconds. You get 5 planes per flight, and it's 1 flight, 1 attack, so 5 planes attack. And they do have the Tiny Tim rockets with 68mm a pin, maximum rocket damage of 5,400, and a 33% chance of causing a fire per rocket. And they reload in 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. Her guns, she has 12 16-inch guns that reload in 36 seconds. Yeah! Now, these are pretty much North Carolina's guns. They're the 45 caliber guns, not the 50 caliber guns, which means that their shells are slow. Really freaking slow. The AP shell has a maximum velocity of 701 meters a second. And of course, any of you that have played North Carolina knows that the drag on these shells are really bad, and they are quite floaty, especially at range. The HE travels at 820 meters a second, not 120 meters a second, that'd be dead slow. 820 meters a second. They have a 36% chance of causing a fire on the target per shell, which is pretty nice when you have 12 guns. Maximum AP shell damage is 13,100. Maximum HE shell damage is 5,700. Now, she does actually have 14 5-inch guns. Can you secondary build this ship? Yes. Is it a good idea? No. But anyway, the secondaries, they have a range of 7 kilometers base, 5% chance of starting a fire, 6-second reload time, 1,800 maximum HE shell damage. Now, her main battery guns base have a 19.6 kilometer maximum firing range. AA rating is 80, and of course the 5-inch guns are dual purpose. You get a couple of quad Bofors and then some single Orlikins, standard American AA. Maneuverability, the ship's maximum speed is actually 30 knots, which is pretty darn fast considering the ship's a hybrid. Now, the ship was designed ground up as a hybrid and wasn't a conversion like the Issei. And her turning circle radius is 1,050 meters, and she has an 18.4 second rudder shift time. Her concealment base is 16.4 kilometers. For consumables, she only gets a heal and a damage con, no type of catapult-launched aircraft at all. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and slap on the commander and module build that I was running on this ship all throughout tonight, and I'll show you what stats she has with that build on her. Alrighty, so for the commander build, I went with a pretty standard survival build, so preventive maintenance, MLG turrets, adrenaline rush, basics of survivability, emergency repair expert, concealment, and fire prevention. Then for the module build, I went with main battery mod 1, damage con 1, artillery plotting room mod 1. Now this is the special module that only American battleships get, and unlike the normal aiming systems mod 1 slot that goes here, this doesn't increase your, improve your dispersion. This increases your range by 16% and decreases your dispersion for your secondaries and increases their range as well. Then with damage con 2, concealment, and then artillery plotting room mod 2. Now this gives you an 11% buff to your dispersion, which is quite nice. So it's a very nice consumable to have, module to have. So what does this do now? So for the guns, we now have a 22.7 kilometer firing range and 255 meter maximum dispersion at that range. For our concealment, it's now down to 13.3 kilometers, and considering you have a freaking fridge welded to the top of your ship, that's actually really quite nice. Maneuverability, our maximum speed is now 31.5 knots. So just 0.5 knots shy of being a 32 knot battleship, which is not bad at all. Alright, so that's the build I was running on her, and I'll talk to you guys about that in the gameplay section, which starts right now. So the Kearsarge, how is she in battle? Well, I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised by this ship's performance overall, meaning that it felt a lot more balanced than I assumed many thought it was going to be upon her release. Now, let's talk about her planes first. I'm no CV main, and I'm sure many players looking to pick this ship up are no CV main. So she gets rocket planes. She doesn't get torpedo planes or dive bombers, anything like that. She only has one flight of planes, and it's the rocket planes. 5 planes per flight, 3 rockets per plane, for a total of 15 rockets at your target. Now, since these are the Tiny Tim rockets, they can pin 68 millimeters of armor, which is quite good. And once you get the hang of them, you can reliably be chunking battleships and large cruisers for anywhere from 10 to, I think the largest I got was 17k once with these rockets. They're very, very good at good, consistent damage if you can pull it off. But of course, with a 5-second machine gun firing delay, good luck with doing this to light cruisers and destroyers. Not saying it can't be done, but it's a lot more difficult. And sure, if you pull it off, you'll be doing a lot of damage to those ships, especially considering their small health pool, but it's quite difficult to do. Now they reload every 2 minutes. So you get one flight, go off, you could blap your target, have all 5 planes left. Doesn't matter, you still gotta wait 2 more minutes until those planes can take off again. You can lose the entire squadron, doesn't matter, 2 minutes until they can take off again. So that's that. Now, again, besides being a good source of damage, you can spot with them if you so choose so. And sure, you can spot the target, but again, they don't have any health. They don't have a heal. They don't have an engine boost consumable. You can't call in a fighter to draw in AA and spot ships while you go fly about. You can't do that. You have to sit there and spot the target if you want to do that, which is honestly kind of a waste of your time, unless there's a DD with like 300 health that you need to just spot for your team for a couple seconds to let them blap. Anything beyond that, you're wasting your time, because the main feature of this ship is its guns, those 12 16-inch guns. That's a lot of firepower to have at tier 9. Now, what's the drawback to these 12 16-inch guns? Well, like I showed you in port, they are the 45 caliber gun and not the 50 caliber gun of the Montana and of the Iowa. The North Carolina's 45s. Which means The shells are slow, especially the AP shells. 702 meters a second. That's how fast those shells are traveling, which that's slow by Tier 8 standards, let alone Tier 9. So, yeah. Those of you that have played North Carolina know what I'm talking about. From about 15 kilometers in, the guns are actually quite good. You got 12 of them, 16-inch guns. Packs quite a punch with that a good old American Battleship AP. Definitely great for blapping broadside targets when you see them. And of course, with the arcs of the guns, you get that very nice plunging fire effect. So they're great at that range. But anywhere past 16, 17 kilometers, you're really going to start to notice how slow, how floaty, and how draggy these shells are. And that's normally not a giant deal for the North Carolina, because the North Carolina also gets 2.1 Sigma. And with the North Carolina 2, you're mostly sitting bowing on your target, firing the forward 2 guns, and that'll cut it for you. You can't really do that on the Kearsarge because of the accuracy of the guns. The ship has, I think, 1.7 Sigma instead of the 2.1 of the North Carolina. If the ship had 2.1 Sigma on these 12 16-inch guns, oh my god, that would be absolutely amazing. But, of course, she doesn't, because that would be kind of busted, of course. But it's definitely nowhere like Palmer levels. With the special module equipped, the dispersion was pretty consistent throughout the night, which was okay-ish, definitely workable in a Tier 9 battleship, especially, again, from about 15 kilometers in. But from 17, 18 kilometers out with the dispersion and how slow the shells are, it can be quite frustrating at times. Because it's taking 20, 30 seconds for these shells to get where they're going. If the ship didn't have a 36-second reload time, the guns would probably be reloaded every time you take a shot past about 18, 19 kilometers. Now, again, for the North Carolina, it's not a huge deal because it's a Tier 8. It can get up to Tier 10, but it will see its fair share of being top tier in Tier 8 games, of course. But with the Kearsarge being a Tier 9 ship, you're pretty much going to be in Tier 10 most of the time, which means that you will be constantly firing at ranges over 17 kilometers and having to deal with these slow shells, which can be absolutely frustrating at times. Now, of course, you can get used to the drag and how slow the shells are and stuff, and learn how to lead your target properly. Of course, I started out the night very frustrated at the ship because of this, but toward the end of the night, I was getting the hang of it again because I haven't touched North Carolina in forever. I sold it to get the Iowa, and it's just one of the ships I never got around to buying back in my port, despite having plenty of credits to do so. I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, by the end of the night, I was getting more consistent shots with the gun and learning how to, relearning how to lead at such ranges with the North Carolina's guns. But at that range, the targets have, again, 20, 30-ish seconds to turn. And that's if they're paying attention, of course. If they don't pay attention, they still have 20, 30 seconds to turn, which means that just by the nature of the game, unless they're just absolutely blinded by whatever it is that they're targeting, they're probably going to make a rudder movement in 30-ish seconds, especially at Tier 10. So even if they're not paying attention to you, they can just tap their D button slightly, and by the time the shells get there, that's enough to throw off the shot by quite a large margin. So it's quite frustrating. It's a situation you have to deal with a lot being a Tier 9 battleship. Now, of course, you have the planes to back you up and go around and get a good shot in here and there, but sure, that's only 10 to 12k every 2 minutes. That's, not a whole lot of damage, especially considering how short some Tier 10 matches can be. And that's what I was finding. A lot of the matches I was in, they were simply ending too fast before I could really do anything. Then I started playing the ship in a little bit closer and such, and yeah, the guns are performing better there, but then you've got that frickin' hanger welded to your deck that's just an absolute source of chunkage. Now, I will admit, the ship was tougher than I thought it was going to be. Originally, when I first started playing the ship in the night, I was hanging way back, trying to get those sniping shots in, sending out the rocket planes when every second that they were ready. But later on, I just started pushing up a bit closer, starting to just only use the rocket planes when I saw a prime target, a target that was alone that I could easily, maybe get 12, 13, 14k damage off, start a couple of fires, things like that, and my damage started to improve. And that seems to be how you play this ship at mid-range, just using your rocket planes when opportunity knocks, or if there's a ship that's at 1 or 2k health that you need to secure for your team and your team can't secure it. This ship's fantastic at securing kills with the rocket planes. It's quite a relief to have, because we've all been there in that situation where we nick that one lousy destroyer and he's down to 300 health, but our guns can't hit him and he's running away from our team. We just pop up the rocket planes and then you can go finish him off, because you can probably get 1 or 2 rockets to land on that DD, or at least spawn him for your team to where your team can finish him off. But yeah, from medium in range, the ship seems to be pretty good. You just have to mind your hangar there, and if there's too many ships around, they will chunk you pretty good. Or if there's a battleship on the other side of the map, he may not citadel you. I don't think I got citadel once in this ship throughout the entirety of the night, but they will chunk you. I mean, that target's not hard to miss at all. Again, everything can pin it, even the Italian secondaries. Those little 90 millimeter secondary guns, they can't even pin most of the tier 10 DDs. Yeah, they can pin that hangar deck, so watch that. So overall, is this ship worth it? Well, the ship is available for coal. You can get it for 228,000 coal through the armory. It is a unique ship. It's an interesting ship to play, but I wouldn't have it be my first coal ship, especially with the guns being what they are at tier 9. Again, if you get in a medium to close range, the guns are fantastic. They're great. They pack one hell of a punch. And since you have 12 of them, you can actually spam HE pretty well when the enemy battleships go bow in. But I'd rather have Pommern, honestly. I mean, Pommern's better than this thing, especially if you're a battleship player. But if you're a player with more experience and this looks interesting to you, I'd say, yeah, it's probably worth the coal. But if you're someone that's going through and wanting to get your first coal ship, this is not the ship for you. It's a fun ship to play in the right situation, but it can be incredibly frustrating at times. Would I spend $80 on this ship because it is available in the armory for $80 or that equivalent in doubloons? No, I wouldn't. It's not worth $80. It's not a fantastic ship. It's okay. It started to perform better throughout the night when I got the hang of the guns. I started to get about 110, 120,000 damage on average once I got the hang of the guns again. But again, it's still really frustrating. I wouldn't want to pay actual money for that frustration. So that's my review of the Kearsarge. It's an interesting ship. It can be fun in the right situations, but it's easy to chunk because of that hangar. The guns can be absolutely frustrating when you have to shoot at long range, which you often have to do because, again, you're a tier 9 ship. You're going to be in tier 10 games most of the time. But when you find yourself in that sweet zone of medium-ish range, this ship can be a real heavy hitter in those situations. So that's my review of the Kearsarge. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.